We'll call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. We've got our roll. We'll start with the roll call. Please note that John Iverson is not present this evening. And at this time, we'll call if anyone has a conflict of interest at this time.
Do you want a motion or consent agenda?
Oh, okay, I thought that was next.
Point of order.
Is there a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Moulton.
Second.
A second by Lohr. And with that, we will move to see if there's any conflicts of interest. Hearing none, we will move to, well, we've got our motion, our second, and Heidi, are you good to present the financial report now, please?
Yep, sounds good. In the general fund, the revenue totaled just over $2 million and consisted of a small amount of tax proceeds, state aid, and federal dollars. The federal dollars in the amount of $637,000 were associated with expenditures that occurred in fiscal year 2024. The expenditures totaling $3.5 million exceeded the revenue during the month as typical. This fund's ending cash position of $7.2 million reflects a slight decrease when compared to the prior year. In the capital outlay fund, the revenue consists of the typical August property taxes in the amount of $30,000. The expenditures significantly exceeded the revenue this month as typical. Expenditures included $251,000 in payments towards buses, $262,000 in construction in progress of the athletic complex, and several payments relating to summer projects. This fund's ending cash position of $4.9 million is above that of the previous year and is expected to decrease as we work through construction in progress of the athletic complex. Special education had revenue of small amount of tax proceeds, the monthly state aid payment, and federal revenue. The federal revenue in the amount of $398,000 was in the form of 611-619 funds for the costs that occurred in fiscal year 2024. This fund's ending cash position of $2.7 million reflects improvement over the prior years. Enterprise activity was moderate and will pick up with the full month of school in September. Tuition payments for preschool have started streaming in for the school year services, and you'll see those reported in September. Lake Area Tech's revenue includes just over $3.5 million relating to students' tuition and fees. A contribution of $3 million was received from the foundation relating to construction in progress of the archway, bringing the total revenue to $6.9 million for the month. Expenditures totaled $3.2 million and included $375,000 towards FY25 insurance costs and $560,000 in construction in progress of the archway. The ending cash position of $7.5 million is above that of the previous year. The activity in the area of student financial aid continues to be very high due to the enrollment at LATC. This month's activity was in excess of $5.5 million. Enterprise activity was moderate and will pick up in the month of September. Strong sales occurred in the bookstore at the beginning of the first semester for the 24-25 school year. The expenditures included the replenishment of inventory and the purchasing of large items such as tools and computers. This fund's ending cash position of $740,000 is below that of the previous year and is due to fluctuating inventory to sales. Employee Benefit Trust reported premiums in the amount of $500,000 that were exceeded by the claims and administrative costs totaling $915,000 for the month. The ending cash position of $2.9 million reflects a steady decline. Premiums will increase with September payroll to assist in offsetting increased claim costs. I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you for your detailed report as always.
Yes.
Much appreciated.
Okay, with that, we'll seek a vote on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move to the Lake Area Tech College portion and seek any input from the public if there are any people here to do so. Not seeing anyone, we will move into item 3.2 and turn it over to President Sanderson.
Good evening. Just to start with discussion items, want to remind the board that we will convene with the Strategic Advisory Council on October 24th for our annual joint meeting. And during that time, we'll have a discussion about the future of Lake Area Tech. We are embarking on our next round of master campus planning, kicking that off in early October. And this joint board meeting will be one of the opportunities for us to glean some feedback from you all and those that sit on the Strategic Advisory Council about what you would like to see upcoming in the next 10 years at Lake Area Tech. So please join us noon to 2, October 24th.
Thank you. We'll move into the action items with personnel and start with 4.1.1 and the resignations, please.
Very good. I'm working off the blue copy of the personnel report that was updated this afternoon. First up, we have one resignation, and with a broken heart, I recommend your approval of this resignation as it's presented to you.
Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the resignation.
Motion by Laura, second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's been approved. We'll move to item 4.1.2, contract recommendations and addendums.
Thank you. Before you are a variety of full-time permanent employee contracts and a variety of days contracts for summer activities that were hosted on campus. On the back side of the blue sheet, you'll also find a variety of adjunct instructor, part-time, temporary, and corporate education contracts. I recommend your approval as those are presented.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Rossman,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's been approved. We'll move into the stipend request.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before you are request for stipend reimbursement for 3 of our staff who are seeking advanced degrees related to their work at Lake Area Tech, and I recommend your approval as those are presented.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the request for stipend?
Make a motion to approve the stipends.
We have a motion by Laura.
Second.
And a second by Rossman. Any questions, comments?
It's always nice to see people moving ahead and increasing their education. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's been approved. We'll move into property and start with item 4.2.1.
Very good. I'll ask Tricia to bring up the presentation on the screen. Tonight we're seeking your approval to go to bid for the expansion of our surgical technology facilities on campus. Surgical technology started as a program a year ago in the fall of 2023, and we have expanded this year to bring the second cohort of students in. Both last year and this year we've used some temporary classroom spaces, temporary scrub stations, operatories for those students to learn. The plan has been along the way that as soon as we were able to expand into the archway, which we are there now, that the freed up spaces would allow us to expand growing programs on campus, and that's what's before you tonight. So you'll see in the slide on the screen there's an orange box that highlights in the 100 building on campus. It's the southwest portion of the original building on campus where we would expand surgical technology into. This facility, and Tricia, I'll have you go to the next slide, would include 3 operatories, and you'll see that in the salmon color. There's a common scrub station in the center of those surgical operatories with some storage. And you'll see there are some viewing rooms in between each of the operatories. Those are designed as simulation centers. So as students are learning certain skills, practices, instructors can be running simulations from those viewing rooms. And then off to the left, you'll see clean and dirty sterilization spaces. So students learn those proper techniques of washing instruments and cataloging those for use in future operations. And then debriefing stations down at the bottom of the screen, far west part of the surgical operatory center. And those debrief areas would be for an instructor to meet with students following their simulation, so they can go back through what went well, what they need to keep working on, and do some of those trial runs in real time. And so this uses a part of campus that has been used over the last many years, and now that it's available and freed up with the move into the archway, we don't have to add any additional square feet onto campus, but are able to use that space in a new way. Trish, I'll have you go to the next slide. This is some of the renderings that Co-op Architecture put together for us through the architectural and engineering process. And keep going, Tricia. You can see there's a lot of natural light and visibility as tours are going through campus or students are working between north and south end of campus. They're able to see what students are doing in this space. So back one slide, Tricia, you'll see the view into an operatory, and then go back to that last slide. You can see this is an area, the debrief stations are on the far left side, and then up at the front just some collaboration spaces for students as they're preparing for their operatory experiences. The final slide walks us through kind of the timeline that we're looking at. So with your approval tonight to seek bids, those bids would open tomorrow and be open until 2 p.m. on Thursday, October 23rd. We would bring the results of those bids to you at the October 14th board meeting for consideration. And if they were within budget and aligned with the needs of the project, we would be looking at starting construction in January of 2025 and wrapping up by the end of the fiscal year, which would allow us to be fully operational by fall of 2025. Right now we've had 2 cohorts in place. This would allow us to expand those cohorts up to a total of 36 students in the program each year with the additional operatory spaces. From a budget perspective, in the FY25 budget, we have earmarked $1.25 million for the estimated cost of the facilities construction portion. With all of the equipment grant funds that we've had the last couple of years, we've kept $600,000 for equipment specific to surgical technology, and we'll look at some of that tonight. And then we are seeking through healthcare partners and donors an additional $770,000 in equipment funds in order to round out the needs of this expanding program. So I'll stand by for any questions that you have and would seek your approval to go to bid for the surgical technology expansion.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the?
I move we approve the authority to bid surgical technology expansion as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lohr. Any questions, comments?
Sounds like a fantastic program to add. Really excited about this one. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's been approved. We'll move to item 4.2.2 with considering the equipment bids.
Very good. Let's start with 4.2.1, the heavy equipment simulator. This particular simulator is loaded with 10 different pieces of heavy equipment, dozers, excavators. You go down the list of all of the big machines that our students need to learn, including GPS trainers, so that they are prepared to jump into real machines once they get out to the sandbox on the east side of town. We are recommending to accept the sole bid that came in from CM Lab Simulations for a purchase price of $118,556. This is funded through the FY25 Perkins grant, meets all bid specs. Recommend your approval as presented.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the heavy equipment simulator for CM Lab Simulations as presented.
We have a motion by Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, was that
Second.
Rossman?
Yep.
Okay. Yep, second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move to the next one here with the neonatal obstetric patient simulator.
Thank you. We're seeking your approval to accept the bid from Gamard Scientific Company to purchase one neonatal patient simulator at a price of $58,597 and one obstetric patient simulator at the price of $106,957. Both of these items are funded through the FY25 Perkins Federal Equipment Grant. They are within budget and meet all bid specs.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the patient simulators as presented.
We have a motion by Moulton
Second.
and a second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Move to item 4.2.2.3, surgical lights.
Thank you. This bid is for 4 lights that will be housed in 2 of the operatories that we looked at tonight. We propose that we accept the bid from Stryker Communications for 2 Type 1 surgical lights and 2 Type 2 surgical lights for a total price of $238,853. We have existing lights in a temporary classroom, so that's why you see the proposal just for 2 operatories.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the bid for surgical lights from Stryker Communications.
We have a motion by Moulton,
Second.
a second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The lights have been approved. We'll move to item 4.2.2.4, the surgical boom systems.
Thank you. We recommend accepting the sole bid from Stryker Communications for 3 booms that will go in the 3 operatories in the expanded facilities. These come at a price of $119,426.61 per system. So the total price is just under $360,000 for all 3 operatories. That includes the booms, the accessories, and the installation costs. And all of these elements will come from the GOED equipment grant.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the surgical boom systems from Stryker Communications as explained.
We have a motion by Moulton
Second.
and a second by Rossman. Lower, sorry, I gotta get. And a second by Lower. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Item 4.2.2.5, vertical milling machine.
Thank you. The vertical milling machine is for our precision machining program, and before I get into the specifics of the bid, want to extend a huge thank you to Horton. Horton Incorporated is our newest cornerstone partner at Lake Area Tech. They've been a longtime partner, and they employ several dozen Lake Area Tech alumni. It's fantastic to go to the Britton plant and visit with the folks who are on the floor, because so many of them were part of Lake Area's legacy from the 60s and 70s all the way up until recent years. But Horton has come on board as a Cornerstone partner. Cornerstone partners gift at least $500,000 to Lake Area over several years. Part of that gift is the equipment before you in the bid approval tonight. So the vertical milling machine at a price of $131,187 is a need and a leap forward in our precision machining program, adds skill sets that we currently don't have in the curriculum, and comes to us from a gift from Horton, and share our thanks with them.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the bid from Productivity for the vertical milling machine as explained.
We have a motion by Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rossman. Any questions or comments?
It would be interesting to put together a map of where our students land across the region, or even the companies that we associate with and work with, just as a geographical map.
Yeah, that is an interesting thought. We've got a map of where our graduates come from, but not where they land. So
Yeah.
thanks for the idea.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Move to item 4.2.2.6, wire electrical discharge machine.
Thank you. We recommend that the board accept the low bid from Productivity, Inc. to purchase 1 wire electrical discharge machine for the precision machining program at the price of $139,359. And this piece of equipment is coming out of the GOED equipment grant funds.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the wire electrical discharge machine from Productivity.
We have a motion by Moulton,
Second.
a second by Lower. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Move to item 4.2.3, authority to bid the semi-tractor.
With this item, we seek the board's approval to reject the bids that came in September in order that we can rebid the semi-tractor. And we want to make sure that all vendors who bid on that item are submitting apples to apples comparisons. And so we would come back at the October meeting with the rebid if you approve, and the semi-tractor will be funded out of the GOED equipment grants.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move authority to rebid the semi-tractor as explained.
Motion by Moulton.
Second.
Second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Item 4.2.4, authority to purchase the fire truck.
Thank you. In this last round of bids, no bids were submitted for our request for a fire truck, and so we seek your approval that we could go and purchase one so long as it was within budget. The fire truck that we have in our equipment list would be supported through the FY25 state funds that are available to us.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move authority to purchase the fire truck as explained.
Motion by Moulton.
Second.
Second by Lohr. Questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Move to item 4.2.5, consider the equipment lease agreements.
Thank you. Before you in your board packet are a variety of pieces of equipment, 14 different pieces to be exact, that will allow our heavy equipment operator, our law enforcement, and our agriculture programs to use current equipment. And if you'd like, we can go through any of the details, but you'll see the number of months and the cost per month in those rental agreements, either $0 per month up to a couple $1,000s per month. And I would like to extend our thanks to the vendors making those no and low cost leases available: TransSource, Dakota Iron Equipment, Titan Machinery, Stan Houston, and the South Dakota Department of Public Safety.
Wonderful. All right, is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the equipment lease agreements as explained.
We have a motion by Moulton
Second.
and a second by Rossman.
Sorry.
Any questions or comments? Thank you to all those as well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign with those opposed? Hearing none, that motion is approved. Item 4.2.6, consider Redstone Law Firm agreement.
Thank you. We're seeking the board's approval to enter an engagement with the Redstone Law Firm for legal services. You'll note that their rates include $350 per hour for the lead attorney, $250 per hour for associate attorney, and $125 per hour for any paralegal work. Stand by for questions.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the Redstone Law Firm engagement as explained and presented.
We have a motion by Moulton,
Second.
and a second by Lohr. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item 5.1. If there's anybody here from the public to speak on agenda or non-agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move to item 5.2, the Northeast Tech High School report.
Yes, just a reminder to those board members on the Northeast Tech Board, we have our meeting next Wednesday, September 18th at 5:45, menu to be determined.
All right, thank you, and we will go to item 5.3 with our social studies update. Welcome, Tricia.
Thank you. So last month I told you all about math. This month I'm going to continue with the other major curriculum group that worked this summer with social studies. So this is a report on year 1 of our social studies curriculum adoption. So, just as I've done before, you'll see the second slide is who is part of that social studies team. We do have some unfilled positions within that team, but that's the group that began our work with year 1 this summer. Our timeline, in April of 2023, the State Board of Education adopted the social studies standards, and that summer through the fall of 2025, the state's committed to preparing for that adoption. They hosted a summit in Sioux Falls, and various roadshows will be happening this year, and they're developing various resources to support that adoption. So this last summer, summer 2024, was year 1 of our social studies adoption. That's when that team began their work. We actually started during the school year last year doing some preliminary work because the standards were already adopted. And so I can share some of those updates. This coming summer would be year 2 for a full implementation in the fall of 2025. we had swapped math and social studies in our sequencing, and so we actually are currently in year 8 of our previous adoption, and so we typically purchase on 7 years, and so we knew we had this gap year in between that we would have to address, and so I'll explain what we've kind of done for this year in between. This is what the new social studies standards look like. If you would like a copy, I do have more of these books for you, but this is the new standards. These are the old standards, and so there's quite a difference between the content between the two, and so there's a lot of preparation that will go into trying to help staff feel prepared for what those standards will look like. There are 44 pages in the old one, and there's 178 in the new one, so there's a lot there to digest. Our old standards typically looked, you have a slide about this. This is typically how social studies standards have laid out in the past. And the graphic on the right side there shows a real central focus on themselves, their neighborhood, their street, their town, their country, just expanding out from their understanding as the grades progress. And you'll see the major topics that are presented at each grade level currently on that list right there. The next slide, I actually gave you a copy of this graphic. That is the structure of the new social studies standards for South Dakota. It's a more classical presentation. It's chronological. It goes cyclically, and multiple exposures to the content. You will see that American history repeats from 2008 4 times, from 1492 to 2008, and world history goes from ancient to modern 3 times. So throughout a student's experience with the K-12 education, they would be exposed to the content multiple times as they progress through the different grades. Because of that multiple exposure, it's really important that we determine the boundaries of those standards, who's presenting what and how deeply do we present it, so that we're always meeting students where they are developmentally and content-wise. Because our standards are not optional, we want to make sure that we're assessing the right things so that it's not a repetition for our students. And so our goal really is to make the students accessible for all of our students, to make sure that we're understanding the depth and scope that they are supposed to have in our placement, and then manageable for our teachers and students, making sure we have the right materials to support those needs. So the state has contracted with a company called Studies Weekly to develop South Dakota specific materials for grades K through 5. You'll see on the screen some samples of what those look like. We have received a few physical samples that I can show you, but in general, this is the format that they would look like. It's a large, like a news, feels like a weekly reader almost, but it's like a newsprint. Each week, students would get a new issue of the Studies Weekly. And the South Dakota version, this is a 6th grade of a national version, and so it doesn't say South Dakota. But the South Dakota versions, this is much more colorful because it's not the newsprint, but they would look like this, like just a single issue that students would get each week that would work throughout the school year. We would receive those, we've agreed to accept those from the state for the fall of 2025 through 2031. And so they'll be coming K through 5 for each of those grades. This slide, today they hosted a webinar with the state. I had seen a lot of it when I went to the summit last summer, but I grabbed this screenshot from there just so you could see what it maybe looks like. This would be a grade 3 of the South Dakota version, Introduction to Babylonia. And so this would be what a student would cover within a week. There would be one more back page to that, but that would be their content. Just to give you a picture of what that might look like. Grade 5 also has that same option, so they will get that in 2025. However, 7 of our 10 intermediate school teachers are new to teaching social studies this year. And so rather than have them start with a product that was a 1-year product before this came into play, we decided to, we could purchase the South Dakota version online only for this year as kind of that gap year. And so rather than put them in a product that they won't be using again, that is what we decided to do. And so they have access to the South Dakota version of that online product for this year and then the years following that. The sixth grade will have this. The state is not purchasing, and Studies Weekly is not publishing a South Dakota version of it, but they do have this version that is more in line with their national product, which is a lot of ancient history. It would be very similar to what they currently are teaching, and so we purchased that for this year. Studies Weekly does say that they may produce a South Dakota version if there's enough interest, and so for 1 year they will have this version. Going forward, we'll have to make a determination if that's what they will continue with, but for now we wanted to keep them in line with the other products as much as possible. Then at the middle school, grades 7 and 8, grade 7 new standards are virtually what 8th grade is doing now. We'll move to 7th grade, and then 8th grade will pick up from 1877 through 2008. So at this point, we have not made a purchase because they are transferring kind of the content that they currently have, and we'll have to determine what we will use for those middle grades going forward. At the high school, they are utilizing a company called TCI. That's what we have been using for geography and world history, and one other, econ is what we currently have from TCI. And we made the determination as a department through our work this year. We did a mapping of the standards to determine where all the content would fall, and selected TCI for all of those grades. And so we made that purchase for 8 years. So this coming year is the gap year, and then the 7 years of the adoption cycle. That will allow us consistent licensing so that they can utilize materials. Any of the teachers would have access to all of the textbooks, and the students would also have licensing in all of those content areas as well, so it would be more consistent for them moving forward, and it made a smart purchase. In terms of what this will look like at the high school, in order to try to fit in the expanded content, currently our 9 through 12, what you'll see on the screen, it's better in color than you got in your black and white. Our color printer was down, but the yellow are the required courses currently at the high school. So we currently require a half credit of world geography, a half credit of world history, 1 credit of US, half of government, half of econ or personal finance. That's what's currently required, 3 credits in social sciences at the high school. In order to fit in the expanded content, for instance, US history went from, I won't say the number right now, they had 21, US history, 20, they had 5 anchor standards, so major standards that they covered, and 16 substandards underneath that. They will now have 21 anchor standards and over 200 individual standards. And so to be able to fit that in, we had to be creative about where to place them all, so that students the standards are not optional, so the students will have to be exposed to all of that content. And so what we are proposing, what we've talked about at the department level, is to try to take some of the US history content and put it in other places that make sense to keep that US history at 1 full credit, and pull the South Dakota portions and the Native American history portions into its own course that would align in that freshman year. We're landing on how that might look, but in knowing that we will have to expand that beyond what we currently require. World history also has expanded from a total of 22 to 103, and so just to give you an idea of the quantity of standards that are expanding, they need more time to be able to cover those pieces. And so that's where you'll see the red pieces or the pink pieces up there. That would be the expansion. That is something that will have to be approved by the board. In the future, we'll have to bring you the graduation requirements, but this is our initial proposal to say this is how we think they might fit. So we're continuing to do the mapping of those standards to make sure that this is the best way that it could lay out, and we'll develop those and bring that to you for approval going forward. So that would go from 3 required courses at the high school to 4 required courses at the high school for all students. The products that we will continue to develop on top of that, so the work to come will be to draft the map of what how those standards lay out and figure out the pacing of those, how much time to spend on each of the areas, and then gathering those materials by those curriculum teams and the content teams that teach in those areas, and then eventually getting to the assessments and the exemplars of how that looks as it plays out for students. But that's our ongoing work. That would be year 2 going forward. That's what is to come. So that's what we've been up to, and I'm ready to answer any questions you may have.
There's many ways to approach it. I really love the print version for K-5. It's going to be like a weekly reader because students read deeper off print than they do off the screen. That's super. I think we've had some workshops in the past that history teachers at the high school have given for other levels. Is that true? I can't remember.
Not while I've been here, but possibly.
Yeah, I think it was discussed. I don't know. I don't know if it happened or not. Obviously, teaching history can come from a variety of places. It can be poetry and plays, myths, legends. It doesn't just have to be a cut and dried history book. There's lots of ways to approach it. So teachers, please don't panic. There's more than one way to approach this. And I know it's a big undertaking. Next week I'll be at the state board and I'll actually be able to see some of these materials firsthand, so that'll be great. Sophomore level and 11th grade level, just a suggestion. And this comes from my own teaching background, but 10th grade, it generally used to be, or hopefully still is, world literature. And it's world history for sophomores. So when I coordinated my English to what was happening in the world history class, students loved it. When we were on Greek drama, they were teaching Greek history. When we were doing King Arthur legend, they were doing the Middle Ages. We're doing the Macbeth and so on. And students just loved that because they could go from one classroom to another and discuss some of the same ideas. Just an idea. Same thing's true on 11th grade level. U.S. history and American literature. If the English teachers and the history teachers could coordinate, that would be great. It'd be super. I know they have a lot on their plate, but something to think about. High school level, are the textbooks electronic? Is that how they are?
They have a classroom set of hardcover textbooks, and then
Okay.
every student has access digitally.
Okay. And we have fabulous library resources, K-12, for all of this. Students and teachers can pull up background materials and primary sources and primary documents. So there's a lot of support that we give. And I thank you for your work.
More just a question on the, what did you call them, the Studies Weekly materials? So you said K through 5 are going to be the South Dakota specific ones. So is that information then like South Dakota specific history woven into the lesson? Is that how it is outlined then? Like
Yes.
they're learning their typical lesson on whatever it's world or American history.
So that company has made sure that every standard in here is
Okay.
accounted for within these.
Okay.
Yes.
But then it focuses on some South Dakota
Yes.
stuff. And so the company determined the South Dakota history, not like local South Dakotans that from
We
DOE
came from
that-
our standards.
Oh,
from
they did?
Yes,
Okay, so
they
they
took
pulled
these
the-
standards
I see.
and
And created
turned
it
them
based
into,
on that.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't following on that, so I
Yep.
appreciate that clarification. Interesting.
If you have an extra copy of that too, I'd like it.
This.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I've got some of the others, but that one I don't have.
And then how soon would we be approving that required course sequence chart that you showed us? Like when would that be?
Most likely prior to registration at the high
Okay.
school.
So it'll probably have to be this fall, so
This
we can
fall.
do first, second reading prior to January when registration starts taking place,
Okay.
so.
Are there, I know it was brought forth that like some of those accelerated options are gonna be potentially maybe removed, maybe not. Are there other electives that are gonna have to be pulled back on just to accommodate for this like other courses?
In order to go to 4 credits, electives will somewhat be affected because we have the I mean, staffing will
Yeah.
have to cover that.
Right.
So we haven't determined what
Haven't
those
determined
classes
which
will
ones.
be.
Okay.
Just the core, like trying to make sure that they fit. We
Those
haven't
in.
named the courses or
Yeah.
levels of courses.
Okay.
That was a discussion in the English department too. We used to have a number of electives, but we had to cut back because scheduling was so tough and tight
Yeah.
to get all the students in. And we offered great electives in social studies here, so it's a problem to discuss. Trying to fit everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that always takes place if you go from more, or you go to more required courses,
Make it fit.
then you're obviously taking away half of elective, not necessarily in social studies, but for each individual
Something.
student, they have a half credit less that they can choose if we,
Yeah.
but in order to cover the standards, that was how we felt.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to at the high school level is add additional required courses.
So it does impact how many elective students can take, but it also affects how many electives teachers can offer.
Yeah.
Because the
Without
teachers will
adding
have to
staff
cover
in the social
this.
studies area.
And then I guess a question like, and I'm just asking this, like the rigor of this at just the elementary level, is that putting strain on the class time for delivery of that they have for
Yes.
this subject, right?
Yes.
Just so many standards to me, that's a lot.
I know that it is weighty, but we're all living in an arc of history that we didn't think we'd be living through right now. And the more you know about the past, and that's what this is really strong on, the more you understand what's going on around you. So yeah, it is comprehensive.
I think the challenge is time-wise, how to fit it in, and
Yeah.
just what do you trade?
Right.
Tricia, could I have you go back to like the second slide on who's on the team? Please.
Eventually, yes.
Well, I apologize, I haven't been able to be present the last couple of meetings. In the last meeting, we obviously covered the math, and it wasn't really easy for me to comment on the phone, but wanted to just share a couple of comments. As I look up on the screen, I don't know all of the names, but I certainly know a handful of them, and there are many talented, skilled, experienced folks on this team that are in your corner helping you make some very tough decisions as you try to navigate not only the math curriculum, but now a 144-page binder there. And I just want to say thank you for your leadership and your help and your contributions. These are not easy times. These are not easy pathways to kind of carve out and figure out what the best pathway is. And the reality is that it's probably not going to be perfect, right? We're doing the very best that you can, and the very best that the 20-some people are, gathering and spending hours and hours trying to formulate the best plan, because I know that you guys care for the district and care for the kids. And so do we, right? So I just want to reiterate a special thanks and appreciation for you and the staff up here, but the staff that came together on the math side as well, and for the proposals that you're putting together. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well said. Thank you.
And just as another comment, having kids in the district, right? And I've got 3 different grade levels, right? And it's just interesting how a curriculum change like this impacts kids who are midstream through the system, and how what they've learned will be different from the next group of kids, and just how it gets a little bit segmented. And it's just interesting now going through it, and as a parent and as a board member, and you know, there's nothing we can do about it, but it's an interesting part to go through, I guess. So, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to item 5.4 with the attendance grant update.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to do that one. So last year we had, last year at this time, we applied to the state for what we called an Attendance Matters grant to address some chronic absenteeism. We were successful in our application, and we received $500,000 over the course of 2.5 years. So if you want to go ahead and click there, So that covered second semester last school year, and then it'll cover the 24-25 and then 25-26 school years. The bulk of that money was used to hire 3 family support specialists. So we hired 3 people. They started January 1 last year, and their main job was to work with families on attendance issues. So we have one who was mainly at the K4. We have another one who's in the middle, 5-8, and then the third one at the high school, 9-12. And so a lot of their job was they made phone calls, text messaging, they did home visits, they helped with the transportation piece, tried to get them engaged in school. They worked on individual attendance plans. So a lot of it, they were kind of in the middle. We looked at it as kind of a tiered system. Tier 1 was messaging that we did with everybody in the district. We had great support from BISCO on that. BISCO is a supporter of our Attendance Matters campaign. And then we also had some money written into the grant to help us with marketing, communications kind of thing. So that tier 1 was everybody got it. Tier 2 is really where these family support specialists came in that they would be the ones kind of with more of the soft touch. If we knew that an individual student or maybe an entire family was having some attendance issues, they might be the ones to make the parental contact. And that's a step in between. What used to happen is that maybe came from the office, and why we looked at the family support specialist to do this is because they don't necessarily have the same authority that you have from an administrator or even the Watertown PD, who are our truancy officers. We felt like it could be a little lighter touch in trying to kind of coalesce the situation. And then tier 3 still comes down to it's the old truancy. The principal would definitely be involved, and then you'd be looking at it wouldn't just be the family support specialist making the home visit. It might be the Watertown PD trying to get students in there. So that was kind of the way we targeted that grant. So when you look at the data on the next slide, the chart goes from 2019 to 20 school year. So this is pre-COVID, and those numbers are actually pretty stark when you look at the chronic number of 5.4% of students in the district were chronic, are chronically absent. And typically chronic is described as, and I think that's actually on the next page, but missing 10% or more of a school year. So we're close to, chronically absent would be right around 20 for the year, but obviously you figured that 10% along the way. So immediately post-COVID, our number of chronic absent students went to 17.9. 21-22 was even worse, and then we've kind of been making our way back down the subsequent school years there. So what we're trying to do is work our way back down and have that bigger green number versus more in the red like we have. If you go ahead, click to the next one. So a sign of improvement already in the last year, and these were taken. These are the tested grades of grades 3 through 8 and 11. That number, which had been at 85%, 84.53%, for all students, actually went back up to 90%. We're kind of in that the good graces of the attendance world. So we already made some leaps last year with our efforts, and you can see that went up in all, both economically disadvantaged, that's our free and reduced numbers, and then our Hispanic and Native American students. All of those attendance numbers rose last year. So some stats on the next page. Our family support specialists made over 450 calls with families, over 250 text messages with families, gave over 300 rides to and from school and made over 300 home visits. Now the big thing that I want to clarify with the rides to and from school, our family support specialist did have the ability to do that, but that is supposed to be kind of a short-term fix. It is not supposed to be school Uber. We do have a very extensive transportation system set up, and a big piece of the family support specialist job would be trying to help that family figure out how to get maybe to one of our bus locations so they can access the current school district transportation. So that's quite a bit, and that's just in one semester of a school year with 3 people. And then finally, some anecdotal success stories. 3 of them indicated, these were from different levels, but we had a student who had missed 39 days of school during the first semester. They cut their missed days by more than half and missed only 15 days in the second semester. Obviously, still not where we want, but have made a significant stride in becoming a regular attender. A second one, the student who had missed 14 days of school due to illness, in the first semester, with the help of the family support specialist, and kind of just an education of the difference between not feeling well and being actually sick. Cut that down to 4 days in the second semester. And another success story was with maybe a family that was Fridays and Mondays were the tough days to make it in the first semester, and they reduced those number by about 5. So those are small anecdotal stories, and a lot of that we hope to see, with full years, the next 2 years, to see that lay out over the course of full school years versus really when we didn't start this and our efforts, the full efforts with the staff until second semester, we had some students who already would be deemed chronically absent for the entire school year already at the end of the first semester. So that's just a little update on that grant.
I have one question, Dr. Danielson, and if you can't answer this, I can ask Eric. But with this DOE grant, obviously a work plan was submitted and budget and such. Do you know if they bring those grant recipients, like other school districts, together on a occasional basis just to share successes, challenges, that sort of thing?
I don't think that's
Okay.
defined in there. We haven't been notified that there's
Okay.
any such thing. We did have to submit a report update to the state, but have not indicated that there's
Sure.
going to be
Yeah.
like a gathering of the different schools who are in there. So we'll just have to kind of follow
Okay.
along maybe through the media as far as.
And the only reason I ask that is obviously we have some promising practices already in place and things are moving in the right direction, but I also think if there's anything we could learn from another district, if DOE allows modification in the work plan at all,
Oh,
I'm not
sure.
sure. Like, to hear that and add something else in that we could be supplementing in if it is being successful in another district, but I guess we only know what we know.
I know not included in this, and thanks to our principals, but we've got some ongoing efforts that they're doing at the building level that we're able to utilize some of these funds for, whether it's attendance incentives or different things to kind of help encourage that, whether it's class-wide, individual student-wide, and maybe get a little healthy competition of
Kids are excited about
attending
that.
school again.
Good.
Thank you very much. We'll move to item 6.1 with action items with the approval of the bills, if there's a motion to approve.
I move we approve the bills.
We have a motion by Moulton,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion for the bills has been approved. We'll move to the personnel section, 6.2.1 with resignations.
Thank you. We do have 6 resignations for you on the updated green sheet. Those are paraprofessionals, and we pretty much have them filled down below in the contract recommendations addendums.
Is there a motion to approve the resignations?
So moved.
Motion by Rossman,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move to the 6.2.2 termination.
Yes, we did have a part-time custodian at Lincoln who finished the school year last year, and then we were unable to reach for a letter of resignation. So therefore, in order to sever the employment piece there, we would need to run this through as a termination.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the termination.
We have a motion by Laura.
Second.
And a second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. 6.2.3, authority to hire.
Yes, we are requesting the ability to hire an additional one-on-one paraprofessional. We had a student move into the school district this year whose IEP required a one-to-one paraprofessional, and we did not have that budgeted for, and so therefore we are asking for your approval to go ahead and hire that.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Rossman,
Second.
second by Laura. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Item 6.2.4, contract recommendations and addendums.
Yes, in here you have our lane changes for this upcoming school year, and then a variety of different trainings, as well as some of the new hires. I just want to make sure you note on the green sheet, Lynn Ostis, it's for 24 hours. I believe in the packet it's still indicated for 4 hours, but if you do the math, 24 times 2155 actually equals the 517.20.
Okay. We'll gladly take those hours. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the contract recommendations and addendums.
We have a motion by Laura.
Second.
And second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move to the stipend request.
Yes, we also have a request for stipends for reimbursements for 5 individuals who are working on advanced degrees there, so recommend those for your approval.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Rossman.
Second.
Second by Laura. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move into the property section with 6.3.1 and consider a change order number 2.
Yes, the proposed change order consists of 4 modifications to the project in the amount of $1,603.90, and that's a deduct to the contract. The changes include a change to fencing material and an addition of powder coating to risers for the grandstand. The construction contingency was approved at $525,000, and the change order adjusts the contingency to $592,750. The contract for this project is adjusted to $10.7 million.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the change order for Phase 2 as explained.
We have a motion by Moulton
Second.
and a second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Item 6.3.2, consider the Presence Learning contract.
Yes, Presence Learning will provide speech-language services for the 24-25 school year at an estimated clinical service fee of $154,334.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the Presence Learning contract as explained.
We have a motion by Moulton
Second.
and a second by Rossman. Any questions, comments?
Is this in person or is it all?
It would be the
It's-
Presence Learning is virtual.
It's virtual.
So then we do typically have then classified staff member that would be with the
With the student.
while they receive the speech. Correct, Dr. Ballinger?
And once we're in
Thank you.
contract with these, is that locked in for the school year, or do we continue to hire if we're able in person?
We
How
would-
does that work?
If we can find one.
I was just gonna give a
yes.
plug. Please,
We would hire
please apply
if
if
we
you
could
know anyone.
find
We'd love to have
someone,
people in
yes.
person. Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's been approved. Item 6.3.3 with the consider surplus property.
Yes, it is recommended to approve the surplus property resolution declaring furniture and equipment as valued at no cost and to dispose of.
Is there a motion to approve the consider the surplus property?
I move we approve the surplus property list as explained.
We have a motion by Moulton
Second.
and a second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's been approved. We'll go to some second readings of policies and start with 6.4.1 with the ACAA.
Yes, ACAA, no changes to this from the first reading. This again was an update essentially through our Title IX programming. recommend for your approval. I would note that there have been some legal challenges to the Title IX programming at the federal level, and so this may not be the only time it comes before you this school year. We're hoping not, that we can go a full year without changing it, but needed to get the recommended changes in place right now.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of policy ACAA, Title IX.
We have a motion by Moulton,
Second?
second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move to the second reading for IJNDC.
Yes, again, no changes from the first reading. This is our internet safety policy, and an update was required as there were some changes through legislation that we needed to address.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of IJNDC, that's a mouthful, for internet safety.
We have a motion by Moulton,
Second.
and a second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move into the student enrollment requests and start with the open enrollments, 6.5.1.
Yes, we have 3 open enrollments for your recommended approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve?
Motion by Rossman,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. Move to item 6.5.2 with the 132810.
And then we have 4 132810s, again recommended for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the 132810s.
We have a motion by
Second.
Lohr and a second by Rossman. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been approved. We'll move into communications. Turn it over to Dr. Danielson.
Yeah, big reminder that homecoming week is next week, Aero Days. Next Monday, a week from tonight, we will have the Legend of the Arrows. That's at 7:30 in the arena. And then on Thursday, there is the Aero Van Caravan from the high school to the stadium. That's at 6:15. Powder Puff football game at 7, followed by a pep rally and the burning of the W. And then on Friday, Spirit Assembly at 11 a.m. in the arena, followed by the Aero Day Parade at 2, and then football at home versus Mitchell at 7. And in between the parade and the game, there's the Aero Ed tailgate. That's also on Friday from 5 to 7 out in front of the stadium. And then another plug for Aero Ed, but the Harvest event is out at the Watertown Event Center on Thursday, September 26th. That is beginning at 6 p.m. So if you're still looking for tickets for that, or even a raffle ticket, you can see Chris in the Aero Ed office over at Garfield, or give her a call.
Dr. Brisk, just so you know, my daughter is more excited for Aero Days than my birthday next Friday. She already told me she's not available. All right. We'll
Right,
move-
because you'll be running 40 some miles.
No, that's too far now. Item 7.2, board report to the superintendent.
I do. Of course I do. There's a couple of things we don't, as a board, get a chance to discuss openly. So I will just put my 2 cents in. I'm reading from the Associated School Board's description of a school board member's job responsibility. Each board member has the responsibility to prepare, to participate, and to maintain a focus on students and student achievement. You must believe that every child can learn, end quote. There's only one reason we're all in this room, and that's the education of children. The selection and use of curriculum lasts 7 years. This is information for the general public. 7 years, that's almost a generation of children. What will a child learn? What materials will be provided for those 7 years? Besides the content and performance of a curriculum, the next consideration is cost in dollars. The new math curriculum will be about $400,000. That's almost $500,000. Curriculums are expensive. It's a huge investment, so it's vital that we make a correct choice. So I still have questions. Did the correct choice occur for 1st through 6th grade math curriculum? Is this a contract with a publisher that can be canceled, altered, changed? Did we select the best math program for those next 7 years? Because we were all concerned about test scores and performance and frustration of students and I. So hopefully it can still be discussed. This week, 2 people made a statement to me. Watertown should not try to emulate a district that scores better on tests or has higher achievement academically. I find that troubling. So according to these individuals, Watertown students must not strive to achieve very high. Watertown students are less capable of higher achievement. Watertown students should not be supplied a high-quality curriculum that produces great results. I doubt that the students, teachers, parents in this community want that. We must all believe that every child can learn. We're all in this together. Next, what I'm about to describe, and let me emphasize, this was not initially caused by anybody in this room. It can be solved by people in this room. And this is regards to high school social studies, English, and Spanish, and science, and math, and other classes. The underlying problems are a shortage of teachers and overcrowded classes. 1,000 high school students must suffer overcrowded classes repeatedly, daily. Adding more skinnies, 45-minute classes is now bringing back an old problem that we had in 2007, 2006. And that was that teachers were overloaded with a massive number of students. 120, 150, 170, and it's starting to bear out again. The exact cause of 104 high school overcrowded classes has 2 sources. 1, Aero Academy pulled out 8 core teachers from the regular classroom. That left a shortage. We need to hire more teachers. We have to make some choices. The excuse that the district cannot hire, I don't believe is true. There are solutions. The excuse that there's not enough classrooms, I think that we can go back to teachers sharing classrooms. It's not ideal, but the student ratio was better and it was balanced. To Aero Academy parents, I have this to say. Is this really the outcome you want for the 1,000 students that are not in Aero Academy? Why must 1,000 students suffer because of the 200 in Aero Academy? Again, let me emphasize, the people in this room did not cause these problems, but I think there's still something we need to address, and it's vital. I can make a very compelling argument that Aero Academy students should be in accelerated classes. Fellow board members, to understand these issues, you need a breakdown of the history, to analyze it for yourself. We can't sweep this aside any longer. If one does not know or understand the history of a school, one cannot solve its problems. For the sake of students and their teachers, I hope the following is not true. An institution will try to preserve the problem to which they are the solution. The challenge is to the people in this room. When students are a priority, there are solutions. I know we don't always agree on everything, but I think there are some serious issues that we still need to address. Thank you.
Any other comments to the superintendent from the board?
No.
With that, seek a motion to adjourn.
I move the motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Laura and a second by Rosalind. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.